making their way to the ring. Talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the Trendsetter, Bryan Burga. The Jersey Wrecking Crew.
Oh, joy! Joy to the world! Trendsetter, we're back, baby! Wow. Guess they're my mug now, for real now, Trendsetter.
Oh, I've been staring at it for so many countless episodes. Now the people get to see it. The crew get to see it,
We
Jeff.
are back. We are back. Jeff and the Trendsetter are back. What is going on, guys? I am Jeff Martin, alongside my tag team partner, the Trendsetter, Bryan Burga. And yes, HSP is back. How you doing, man? Happy Memorial Day to everyone. What is going on?
What is going on right now is you guys are actually seeing living proof of what I have to deal with on a countless basis that I have to deal with every single time we did an episode. But now you're seeing us in the flesh. The Jersey Wrecking Crew in the flesh. I apologize, but you know what? It's so exciting to finally be back. We've talked about it before. We kind of did it in the past, but not really. But, you know, it's emotional. It's bittersweet because, you know what? It's the end of one particular thing and the beginning of the other. And now it's like
your mustache looks beautiful, Trendsetter.
It does. The beard is gone. That's what's the sad part about it. But it's exciting to be a part of it again for all the members of the crew watching, Jeff.
HSP Studios. It's been a long time coming, but we've got a great show for you today.
Oh, yeah. We always do. We always have a great show. What are you talking about?
We have got your Double or Nothing preview in just a little bit. But, man, first and foremost, Trendsetter, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? We've been talking a lot about returning. The pandemic, we're almost, at that point where we can see that light, and then we get this crappy weather for Memorial Day. Well, it's tough, man.
The thing is, Jeff, could you expect anything less? I know I didn't, from all our experiences before when we first started this entire thing to where we are now. Nothing surprises me now, but it seems like things are turning the right way. With the level of how you and I spoke about it when this whole pandemic started, the level of normalcy is coming back. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time right now because now it's the potential of what can be rather than currently what was, and really wasn't a lot, though. So, for all the people that are watching right now, guys, you can catch us on the High Spot Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, all the social media out there. Also catch us on our YouTube channel, the HSP Network. Not only are we, the Jersey Wrecking Crew, part of it, a whole group of other talented people talking about their joys and their passions like Jeff and I are talking about right now. So, as much as I might have missed you, Jeff, I miss the crew more and more every single day. And I have to go out and say this real quick before we start getting into business, is that every single person out there that was a supporter of the High Spot Podcast, a supporter of HSP Network and what we're doing here, I thank you guys so much for sticking around with us, sticking with us.
Yeah, and the hell with the other ones that jumped off, but
yeah,
really,
exactly. But again, I don't blame them for jumping off. I don't.
We'll get to you guys later. For all the ones that jumped the cliff and the other ones that showed your true colors, we'll get to you guys. We've got a long, long time to get to you guys, and trust me, we'll get to you guys here because we know what you've been doing. Anyways, Memorial Day, man, it's the start of the summertime, and we're getting all excited. And now the fans are back, Trendsetter. The fans are back in Daly's Place. It was great to see, AEW Dynamite bring back the fans. And it just shows you, man, how we're progressing now with the pandemic. We've turned the corner, and now you actually have a full house for this Sunday night for AEW Double or Nothing, man. First and foremost, the fans are back. How awesome is that?
It's amazing. For the last year, it's been like we've just been dissecting, or how we did in the past, dissected how the performance was and how people would have reacted to it. Now you're getting that live reaction, which I'm sure not only is us, Jeff, but I'm sure the performers are enjoying it as well, because nothing can replicate having the audience. You could have a Thunderdome, you could have maybe 10 or 15 or 20 people there, which is nice to have that type of noise and crowd reaction, but there's nothing like a full packed house where you get that raw feeling that, the hair on your arms are sticking out, the goosebumps of the anticipation of what's to be. And, it just seems like yesterday, Jeff, we're in Las Vegas, first ever Double or Nothing. Now it's going to be here in Jacksonville, third time for Double or Nothing, second time here in Jacksonville. Hopefully one day it'll get back to Las Vegas down the road. But, yeah, it's amazing because that's kind of the one which was the first really main event for AEW as it kickstarted itself out to where it is now. And so, yeah, it's going to be really exciting. I'm sure the fans are going to make it a memorable one.
Yeah, so it happens tomorrow. It's going to be a great time. I'm sure we'll get to the card in just a little bit. We talked about the fans coming back to Daly's Place. Got goosebumps hearing the fans sing Judas out to Jericho's theme music and the Inner Circle. We'll get to those huge matches in just a little bit. But, of course, I'm there, and I wake up, and I hear this alert on Twitter saying that there could be a possible partnership with WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I'm like, wow, that's like kind of crazy, because isn't the Forbidden Door belong to Tony Khan? And looking at that Dave Meltzer report on the Wrestling Observer newsletter, I'm kind of like scratching my head saying, what's going on here? And when you read the details, you're like, okay, it's possible talks. Nothing's for sure. It could be something huge, but like Meltzer said, that it could be a non-story because you don't know how far the talks have gone. And when I think about stuff like this, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is WWE, that giant. Are they really going to be able to work well with others? Because we know how they are the number one company. Unless they're not treated as the number one company, I don't think WWE would be interested in doing business with anyone. Because they're WWE, they have this mindset that they're a number one. And I'm pretty sure New Japan would want to get their guys over. I couldn't see Okada taking a pinfall or losing clean to someone like, let's just put a wrestler in there, like maybe it's like to an Elias or something like that. So there's so many questions, but Nick Khan has been at the forefront, trendsetter. And when you read these reports, do you possibly believe that these two huge companies can get together and work together?
WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling, yeah, of course, because if it makes sense business-wise, they're going to do it. But to me, it's been nothing about making sense business-wise, because that relationship has always been there for WWE and New Japan to work together. It's just Vince McMahon or the higher-ups have not really wanted to do that because they haven't wanted to open that, forbidden door. Now that they've seen the success that AEW's had to a small degree, and all the other promotions like Impact working alongside AEW, and down the road, all of the promotions can theoretically work with each other. Now it makes sense because in theory it works on a smaller scale compared to what WWE's kind of anticipated to be. So does it work? Yes. Am I surprised? No, but I really feel all this really is despite the fact that AEW and an individual separate company from WWE is having the success it's having with it right now. So I think it's more out of spite than anything.
Oh, you think WWE would just sign with New Japan to be their exclusive North American partner just out of spite to Tony Khan and AEW? Well,
yeah, Jeff, look, because we have to think, who owns WWE? Who's somebody who just loves competition and wants to take any type of competition and completely stomp on it? That would be WWE. We've seen them do that with talent before. They've acquired talent and have not used them for whatever reason, just to keep them on the roster, to keep them away from anybody else to use them. So it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do that either.
Well, I get it, but I don't think New Japan is going to be there. Sure, let's sign so that you can stomp on us and get us over. I'm pretty sure that they would have to have some kind of agreement there where, where WWE stars come over to New Japan and vice versa, and it's kind of like a 50-50 thing, you know what I mean? I don't think they'd sign something to get squashed totally because...
Well, I never said they're going to get squashed. I would say for business point, in terms of money, they would do that partnership, but WWE has never shown interest in that after all the years they've had. Now you see what AEW, what Impact, what all these other promotions are doing with New Japan. Now they want to get their piece in. They want to get their piece in terms of spitefulness. Not that they would squash New Japan Pro talent, but at the same time, like, hey, if you're doing so well, we're going to interfere now with what you're originally doing to make yourself successful. And now we're going to get in on it.
Well, how about this, trendsetter? Only in the WWE, only in professional wrestling would you see that there's not one Khan, but there's two Khans. And Nick Khan, who is the WWE president, has been really steadfast in these negotiations. He's kind of spearheaded it, and now you hear stuff like Daniel Bryan was a sole reason because he's a free agent. He wants to work with New Japan, so why not let's work together? It's really crazy how WWE's philosophy has changed over the last few years because Triple H said it too, that they're open for business, but it has to work for both sides. So, when you hear something like this, it's refreshing. You have people on both sides where they're like, oh, this is great for WWE and New Japan. They're already fantasy booking, right? And then you see other people that are opposed to this because they said, hey, New Japan probably has a chance where they're going to be a little bit submissive to WWE because that's basically just the way when you deal with WWE. They're the number one company. But, to have two Khans involved. One, of course, Tony Khan, the AEW president and owner for AEW, and Nick Khan is kind of ironic and only, I think, could happen in wrestling, Trendsetter.
Well, yeah, I mean, you make the valid point. It can only happen in wrestling. We have two Khans now working in the business, but again, that doesn't.
Khans don't make it right.
Two Khans don't make it right. Apparently, they don't. But when we really look at it in terms of what could possibly happen, I think really, as much as Dave Meltzer's reporting it and people might be talking about it, I want to believe it till I see it. You've heard rumors before. Again, we've heard this before. Prior to AEW's inception, Jeff, we heard the ideas that could possibly happen. But Triple H said it himself too, right? It has to make the right business sense for them, meaning one side is going to have to take a fall a little bit. And, New Japan's pretty prideful in their organization and what they developed throughout the years of making themselves a very marketable and very respectful promotion. I'm sure they wouldn't want to take a back seat to WWE, and I'm sure WWE wouldn't want to do that either. But in their mindset is like, well, nobody knows who you are, so you have to follow our world because the WWE is such a juggernaut. So
they're both number one companies in their minds.
They are number one companies, but at the same time, where does it all lie into in terms of what we've talked about since we first started doing this? Not everybody knows New Japan. Not everybody knows Impact. Not everybody knows Ring of Honor and all these other promotions. Everybody in the world knows WWE, so that would be their leverage.
Yeah, and definitely, though, that's going to be something to look at in the next few months. But, of course, I do not blame Tony Khan for doing what he did. And if you guys have seen it already on Twitter, it's blown up. He's basically addressed the rumors of the Forbidden Door and the talks between WWE and Nick Khan and New Japan and all those negotiations. So he mentioned the fact that, so these talks have happened, right? But he's done more with New Japan talent, and, they've got future plans with New Japan. So really, how much negotiating has he done, Nick Khan, with New Japan? So that's interesting. He calls him a con man and says there's only room for one con in the business. Now, a lot of people, again, are saying, wow, this is just a spoiled brat in Tony Khan who's got his daddy's money. He's hiring wrestlers, playing, toys, treating the wrestlers as toys and all that stuff. But I get it. I get why he did that promo, because if you want to think that, hey, he's just, picking on WWE or he has to defend himself, the guy has to defend himself. He has to address these rumors. He has to get to the front of it, because this has kind of been his baby. He's been accurate in what he said in the message he did there with Tony Schiavone. But I just think this is, it might have sounded like a promo, like he's trying to be this heel wrestler, but I think it's a little bit of both, because he has to defend the company. He has to, address the rumors, and he also has to take jabs at the WWE, because, that's, what he's doing. Whether it's a heel promo or not, as you took it, he had to get to the forefront, and I think what he did was he addressed the rumors, and I think that was a good thing, and I thought it was the right thing to do for Tony Khan.
Well, it's the right thing to address the rumors. How he addressed it, people can poke fun at it. People can make fun of the promo. They could say, oh, my God, here he is. Now he's a huge fan. Now he wants to act like he's a pro wrestler, whatever the case might be. I do agree he had a right to address it. The manner in which he did, whether you agree with it or not, it's on you. But basically, ultimately, Tony Khan, what he's trying to showcase the fact is that he's not going to be pushed around. I think that was the most important thing. It wasn't necessarily taking jabs at WWE, but saying, listen, everyone wants to talk about WWE and what they're planning on doing in the huge news. But you know what? We've been doing, in the span of a few short months, more than they've done in 2 years in talking with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I think what AEW is doing right now is, I think it's fair in saying this statement. I think they're creating the blueprint of what happened, because we all, as fans, would always look at, the fantasy booking. Oh, what happened if we have this and this? And we kind of had a little bit of that when we had Jericho facing Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom. Now, granted, Jericho wasn't signed with WWE at that time, but still, he was a WWE guy. And it kind of showcased the fact that can this theoretically work? And I think it's shown that it can. Now, one thing is having an ego as a pro wrestler, not wanting to put somebody over and not making yourself look bad. Now, from a company standpoint, that's where we have to draw the line. Now, they've done small successes here and there. Let's see where it goes. But I think Tony Khan was right in terms of addressing it. I kind of hoped he would do it not in a tongue-in-cheek way like he's doing it now, but I can understand why he did it. But again, at the same time, he's not going to let himself get pushed around and showcase that AEW is legitimately here for a particular reason. Not necessarily to compete, but to be in the same forefront as WWE.
I couldn't agree with you more. You had to get in front of it. doesn't matter which way he went about it, you had to talk about it. And you know what? Hey, it could be that he knows that something's going on. He knows that, that the grass is slipping through his fingers, or it could be just something like he's miffed because where did this rumors come about because he thought he had a great partnership with New Japan. It would suck for WWE to just slide through the back door and sign a deal, and they would have egg on their face. So he's got to protect his company. He's got to protect his bottom dollar. So I totally get where Tony Khan is coming from, and whether you like the promo or not, he did the right thing by addressing it. Now, again, of course, his AEW guys are going to, protect, and they're going to support that promo, but it really, at the end of the day, he had to do it. Whichever way he chose to, he had to get in front of a trendsetter. And a lot of talk, too, guys, has been during this week with the AEW rivalry with WWE and all this talk about New Japan is, Jim Ross kind of, started something which I didn't think he had any intention to on a podcast. He talked about who he thought was the best wrestler. And you can really have your choice. It's your opinion. And now we get lambasted. We get bombarded with people saying, how could you pick this guy? How could you choose that? Well, he chose Randy Orton. Now, you know my feelings on Randy Orton if you listen to the show, about Randy Orton. But that led Chris Jericho to chime in and say how he felt like Kenny Omega was the guy, how he was the best wrestler in the world. But it's his prerogative. It's his decision. But here's my thing. How can you say now that Roman Reigns is not the man? And that leads to the whole situation where, like, who are you going to pick? Kenny Omega or Roman Reigns? I mean, that is a huge topic that's been on the internet, on social media, the last couple of days. And I want to address it in this matter, Trendsetter. Mm-hmm. We all have an opinion. We all have the right to believe we think this person is the best wrestler in the world. But right now, Kenny Omega is doing his thing in AEW. It's just to me that Roman Reigns is doing his thing better in WWE, just because this is, to me, the greatest run that he's ever had holding a championship in WWE with the Universal title.
Where do I go with this?
Where do you go with this?
I agree with you in terms of this is probably the Roman Reigns' greatest run of his career. And the reason why I think it's one of his greatest runs is because he's been allowed to have some of that freedom. Now, people can talk about how, when you're a babyface and you're the face of the company, it's kind of hard to kind of say what's on your mind and say how you really feel. But now that he's a heel, a bad guy that we all like to boo now, there's something more legitimate, something more genuine Roman Reigns talks. He's not talking to be comedic. He's not talking in order to sell tickets. He's really just drawing from his own feelings, his own experiences, and kind of turning that volume up really high. We've talked about it before. Some of the best performers in this industry have always been themselves, extensions of themselves with the volume turned up really high. And I think the only reason why I lean more towards Kenny, and again, it's not a fair comparison. You know why? Because this is what I've always wanted from Roman Reigns. People are like, oh, you're bashing Roman, you hate Roman. No, I hated how WWE wanted to portray him. They wanted to portray him as something he really wasn't at that time, and kind of turned him into this cookie-cutter, company factory-made type of individual, which they hated. Had they done this and let him just be himself, who knows where he would have been in terms of that. I say all-around performer, storyteller is Kenny Omega, but I will not take anything away from Roman Reigns. So I've had to pick between the two of them. As much as there's so much history behind Kenny, what he's done at Wrestle Kingdom, his amazing matches, his 7-star matches, as you call them, right? And everything he's done and accomplished at this point, now we're seeing the cleaner version, or maybe a new evolution cleaner version of Kenny Omega. Roman does it in a way, now, part of that could be W production. A lot of that could be like the less you say, the better it is. But Roman has really encompassed this whole tribal chief thing. As annoying as it is sometimes for me, that's what you want, though, because you're invested in. I want Roman to lose. I want him to get beaten. I want him to eat his words, and he's doing an amazing job right now. So I have to say right now, currently, Roman is ahead of Kenny.
And the simple fact is this, Trendsetter. I can just give you 2 names, and it blows everyone's conversation out the water who supports Kenny Omega. I love Kenny Omega, by the way. I would have said to you before this Roman Reigns heel turn and his run right now, I would have said Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. I said the same thing in 2018, in 2019, and through the pandemic, that Kenny Omega was the man. Jericho had a great 2020. I'll give Chris Jericho credit for 2020. To me, I thought he was the best. But two names, Trendsetter, blow all the conversation. And I'll tell you what it is. Do you know who it is? Do you know what the names are, Trendsetter?
I'm dying to know, Jeff. What are the names?
Daniel Bryan and Edge at WrestleMania. And the grandest stage of them all, not only did he beat both men in the fact we're like, oh, okay, I pin him and I beat both men. No. He actually pinned both men. And that, my friends, ends any conversation of Kenny Omega being better than Roman Reigns at this point today. Again, Kenny Omega 2, Roman Reigns 1. Why? Simply just because of that match. That solidified Roman Reigns' title run here. Now, whether he faces John Cena at SummerSlam, fine. He gets that win, fine. He gets that victory over Cena, okay.
Or Cena gets that win over Reigns because Reigns has beaten Cena before.
Yeah, but now maybe this is a more dominant way because I don't see that Roman Reigns push going away anytime soon.
No.
So I think he's just going to collect names. Now, whether you like it being part-timers, fine, whatever. He had an amazing match with Cesaro. Okay, this is a really good wrestler. Isn't that a Cena where you say the five moves of doom, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for helping me out there, Trendsetter.
You got it.
Always have each other's backs. So this is Roman Reigns who can actually really go in the ring. He can adjust to different styles. And I think that's what makes him all-around great performer. And I know Kenny Omega can tell the story, but that's just part of being a great wrestler, Trendsetter. And just those two names, Daniel Bryan and Edge, gives Roman Reigns the edge in being the best wrestler in the world today.
All right, just really quick points here. Like, when we talk about greatest wrestler, best wrestler, right, that's where I kind of like, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but there's a difference between wrestler and performer. If you're talking about best performer right now in terms of what they're doing, it's Roman Reigns. Wrestler, to me, it's Kenny Omega. No doubt about it. The thing is, if the roles are reversed, and it's easy to play this because you're playing like, Monday morning quarterback where I'm like, oh, well, this happened. But we look at the production value of what WWE does, the stage that they're on, the type of reach that they have, right? Now, AEW's doing an amazing job doing what they're doing now, working with TNT, eventually moving to TBS, which we'll talk about in a few. But it's like, they're not even at that level. Kenny has accomplished all this much in the mainstream of these die-hardcore fans that love professional wrestling. WWE isn't like that. It's sports entertainment. So best entertainer right now would be Roman.
You get the same argument with Brett and Shawn, right? Because
exactly. I mean,
Brett
if Kenny was given that platform to tell stories and have his creative side, which we've seen on the stages of New Japan, we've seen on the stages of Ring of Honor, we've seen the stages of Impact as well. And we see at that level, who knows where we've been now? But again, the biggest thing, it's all hearsay. I get it, but ultimately, too, it's like, what would it have been like to have fans in the arena as well during all these times? Because a win for Roman Reigns, as impactful as it was at WrestleMania, and we were there and we saw it, and how dominating that was in terms of pinning both Edge and Daniel Bryan. Unfortunately, Kenny hasn't been given the opportunity because there hasn't really been a lot of people in the audience.
And
now,
they're both doing it as heels, too.
Yeah.
They're both having their run as heels. Again, this is not to take away anything from Kenny Omega or Roman Reigns to the fact where, we're disparaging each of the guys.
It's a great argument to have, though. It's a great argument to have because both are literally right now, in my opinion, Roman and Kenny in their primes. And you want to see that. Roman hasn't filled out his potential till now. Kenny's been living on potential and now has the platform in terms of the exposure television-wise to touch a larger base of audience than he has right now. So
again, have fun with the conversation, guys. But if you're on the Roman Reigns bandwagon, which I am, which I cannot believe that I'm saying this, that I'm the bandwagon Roman Reigns. But
why can't you believe it, though?
Because
why? Because
I am amazed.
You despise him so much as a babyface?
I did. And
but that was it, because didn't you feel he's being restricted?
I did, and this is everything that I've ever wanted from Roman Reigns. And again, this will just...
And I hate to defend you here, Jeff, real quick, but you never once on this show ever said that you hated Roman Reigns. Same thing when I talked about John Cena and Roman Reigns, as we compared the two of them pretty evenly in terms of their very polarizing figures, because I just felt we never got the full potential of what Roman could be because he was being held to act a certain way.
Yeah.
If he had done this before...
Totally agree.
What would have happened, right? But now we're seeing it, though. So I am not somebody saying I'm jumping on the Roman Reigns bandwagon. I've been there. I've been rooting for this guy, and now we're seeing what he's made. And now we're seeing what he can do when you let go and let him actually learn and actually go out there and deliver some amazing promos. This isn't something he's just reading off and memorizing. He's saying it from the heart. You believe the conviction of Roman Reigns, and that's why it's working.
And as much as I want to keep going, Trendsetter, we got to move on. We got to move on. So have fun with that argument, guys. We're just giving you our points on that, on Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega. Love them both. But just make sure that you love them. All right, Trendsetter.
I think you love both of them.
All right, Trendsetter, Double or Nothing preview is on right now. Of course, it happens at Daly's Place in Jacksonville. We love Double or Nothing, man. It is such a great event. Like Trendsetter said before in the open, we've been there before. The very first one in Vegas. Tremendous. AEW's got that big-time feel. And, of course, you've got so many matches. You got the Stadium Stampede. You've got the AEW Championship that's on the line. You've got the AEW Women's Championship that's on the line. And this is the one I want to get to, Trendsetter. Because, yes, people actually bet on pro wrestling. There's actually a thing. So there's people saying that they're betting huge money that if there's any title that's going to change, it's going to be Hikaru Shida losing that title, who she's been champion for a year, got presented that brand new title on Dynamite.
Can't much difference on that title, right?
All right. She is going to lose. It is clear cut that she is going to lose to Britt Baker. And I got to agree. I really think Shida has done a great job as a women's champion, but if AEW wants to definitely capitalize now on Britt Baker, who, hey, listen, I was not a huge fan of when we were ending kind of the show, when we were doing AEW recaps, not a huge fan.
That was a lifetime ago.
But I got to admit it. I got to give her credit. She has been phenomenal on the mic. That match with Thunder Rosa was amazing. So Britt Baker, I think it's time. It's her time. And I think we're getting a title change at Double or Nothing.
You know, I always hoped that now that we're moving along with this and moving to the forefront of the future of what HSP is going to be,
we had to agree,
stop
right?
agreeing with you. I really don't. I hate the fact that you always bring this up, and you know this is the direction you're going because we've had discussions about this in the past, and I think you're doing it more to annoy me. But I'll answer your question for you. Yes, I think that's going to happen because, you know, the way the company is steering it, yes, like you said before, Sheeta's been an amazing champion. She's really literally put that women's division, which I critiqued a lot and still critique to this point too because I still think it has a lot of potential there. She held it on her back during this pandemic, so a lot of respect and admiration goes out to Sheeta for that. But now Britt Baker, when she was the first female signed by AEW, had a huge target on her back, a huge bullseye in terms of, wow, you're the first female signed for this company, then you have to deliver. And I think it's fair to say the fact that her first couple of times in the ring and her first opportunities that she had, they weren't really good. I don't know if the pressure got to her. Maybe she wasn't as ready as she thought she was, which a lot of people always say they never are. But I think now, the way Britt Baker has been taking everything that's come her way, from the injuries to, you know, the bloody nose, to what happened with her and Thunder Rosa, she has used it to an advantage and now created this whole aura about herself that, although you're rooting against her, you can't help but like her because she's that bad person with a methodical edge to her that you want her now to be a dominant force. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think Britt Baker has earned this second opportunity to become the women's champion and see what happens here. So my biggest thing is not when it will happen. We feel it's going to happen in Double or Nothing, but what she will do with it. And right now, everything is lining up for Britt Baker to take this and hopefully, in my humble heart, hopefully make this women's division something more than what it originally is, because right now it's nothing to speak about.
All right, Trendsetter. Yeah, hopefully Britt Baker does that, but we have our money on Dr. Britt Baker winning at Double or Nothing. So let's go on.
And she'll like my new teeth because, you know,
Trendsetter,
I got the braces
look at those
off.
shiny whites.
Exactly.
Huh?
So I'm rooting for
you.
her. I'm rooting for her. That's why.
Look good, man. Look, man. You went all out, actually, for this premiere, for this launch.
Oh, for this launch. Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll see if it's in Chicago. But you went all out, literally, by changing your appearance. I mean, you look good. You knew you were on camera. You knew you had to, you know, look different. You had to fix your appearance. And I applaud you for that. I commend you, Trendsetter. You're really actually trying.
All right, stop kissing my butt, Jeff.
Well, I mean, I try. I mean, usually, I'm just trying to get ahead of you because usually you diss me. But the Stadium Stampede match, Trendsetter, the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. We had a little celebration for the Inner Circle. Kind of felt like a goodbye. I mean, if you're truly believing yourself, I mean, which they did the last few weeks, they were 100% believing that they were going to beat the Pinnacle. But there's that seed of doubt. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said it perfectly. You're like, oh, damn, are they saying goodbye? Kind of get a bad vibe like that, man, when you see that. And then afterwards, the beatdown from the Pinnacle on, the Inner Circle. pile driving Ortiz and Santana through those tables. I'm not liking their odds here. I really think that the Inner Circle is disbanding on Sunday.
Well, isn't that what they all want you to think, Jeff, huh?
Oh,
the fair fact that they're just reeling in, right? They're reeling in the goodbyes and the I love you, man, and everything we've been through. Well, honestly, they've been through a lot, and they've done a lot during this pandemic, but it hasn't been like the fact that they've done this and the comparisons to DX or the NWO or the Four Horsemen. They're still fairly new and still have a lot more to accomplish. As a faction, I don't know. Eventually, I think the Inner Circle will go their separate ways. It's going to eventually have to happen there because, again, a lot of potentials there in terms of, Santana Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Jericho. We know where he is now. But I think all of it was a setup for people to feel that this could theoretically be the end. Could it happen? Yeah, of course it can. But I don't believe it's going to be. I think right now this rivalry here has really been the most interesting one that people are really invested in. So for it to end at Double or Nothing, I don't see it happening. I think it'll be 1-1. And I think the impression is they're showing the fact that the Inner Circle is vulnerable now. That the Pinnacle is now that dominant force that they want to portray as, JR through his allergies so eloquently tries to put, and Tony Schiavone as well. They're really throwing it at you like, oh, look at this, trying to make it look like it's such an impossible task for the Inner Circle. I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. Great storytelling by all the people involved in terms of what they're trying to portray here. I'm sure MJF and Jericho are at the forefront of that.
How good is MJF as a freaking
He's an amazing,
heel.
But I don't think it's going to happen. But, I think it's going to lead to eventually where it might come to the conclusion is All Out, but I don't think it's going to happen here at Stadium Stampede.
Hey, Trendsetter, in case this is our last show and we don't do a number 2, I love you, man.
Shut up.
All right, let's move on to the AEW Championship match, Trendsetter. It's a triple threat. The guy we were talking about just a few moments ago, Kenny Omega, the man, against Orange Cassidy and the bastard Pac. Listen, I love Orange Cassidy. And there's a lot of people
freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy
on social media who are clamoring for AEW to have the balls and put the title on Orange Cassidy. I love his gimmick, but how can you have the world champion, just wrestle the way he does? He is a specialty kind of guy, and I just don't think at the end of the day, world champion, you can book a world champion to wrestle like that. And well, we can get to that later on. But just in this match here, you've got Pac, who's always amazing, who you'd love to see as champion. Yeah. You've got Orange Cassidy, who definitely is the people's champion. The people want to see him beat Kenny Omega. And you've got this Kenny Omega who's aligned himself with Don Callis, and he's been that diva. He's been that, modern version of the cleaner, so to say. The bully. I just, for some reason, cannot see Kenny Omega losing this match. So I'm going to stay Kenny Omega retaining the championship. I just can't see Orange Cassidy or Pac. And if it were to change, I would say Orange Cassidy, but I just don't see it, man.
I don't see it either. I think Kenny leaving Double or Nothing as the AEW champion is going to stay that way. The only reason why I say this is it's not that I don't feel that it's not up to me to say that I believe in Orange Cassidy. I think from what Jericho's done with him to where he started, the huge ovation he got when he first debuted in AEW and he had an audience there, people are behind him. People believe in him. I mean, he could be this version of a Darby Allin where they're just more relatable to somebody in terms
he's relatable, yeah.
Of his stature in terms of what he does. So could he become AEW champion? Yes, of course, down the road, but that's not going to happen at Double or Nothing, in my opinion, because I think so much has gone in the making of not only bringing back, the cleaner Kenny Omega, or this version of AEW's version of Kenny Omega, but I think the importance of opening that door, as we just spoke about before with Tony Khan, that he wants to make sure that, there are opportunities there. And so now that you have Kenny Omega as a double champion, you have that ability. I don't think you get that same type of reach or that same type of quality with Orange Cassidy. Not that he's not able or doesn't have the in-ring ability to do that. I just don't think right now. I think they just put too much work in bringing back the members of the Bullet Club, what they've done with the Young Bucks, what they've done with the Good Brothers, who I don't know what the Good Brothers are anymore, but I think they just put too much work in for that to have the title change hands. And the odd person out in all this is really Pac, because as much as he's an amazing performer, he had that time off where he was away during the pandemic and then finally came back. So he lost a lot of momentum that he had originally before all this started. So I don't see Kenny losing. I see him retaining the title. And in terms of Orange Cassidy, I think it's eventually down the road, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
All right, guys, we've got one more to preview with you. Again, follow us on Instagram and all our social media at High Spot Podcast. This is what you're going to do during the whole night today and into tomorrow for Double or Nothing. You definitely want to make sure to follow our social media. We'll have a rest of our predictions for you guys on there. So go follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, go at High Spot Podcast, and we will have all our picks there, the rest of the picks for you guys on there, and you can catch it. You can catch it there and argue with us if you want to, but you'll have the rest of the picks on there. So we have one more match to preview, and then one random pick here to see what the Trendsetter, if I'm in the same page with him.
Okay.
So here we go. The tag team titles are on the line. It's going to be the Young Bucks against Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Now, listen, the Young Bucks to me clearly are, if not the best tag team in the world. I think that they are. Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, they're like brothers. You had that whole spiel that had on AEW Dynamite. I'm not a huge fan of Eddie Kingston. I do not like him in this role. But hey, he's a friend of Moxley, so whatever. But you can't have a cohesive unit like the Young Bucks losing to a team that's kind of brand new and a team that you kind of question whether they have the cohesiveness like the Young Bucks. So I'm going to go the Young Bucks winning here. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be two different kinds of styles, but I think that they'll make it work. I think it'll be very entertaining. I think it'll be one of the best matches on the card just because of the Young Bucks and Jon Moxley. But at the end of the day, I think the Young Bucks walk away retaining those tag team titles.
See, this is where I'll disagree with you. Not because I feel it's going to be that particular reason. Kind of I explained with Kenny Omega of how much work they had done to make him reach this certain point. I don't think they're willing to throw that away or push that to the side just to make Orange Cassidy. I think Orange Cassidy's already made. It's just a matter of time when it will eventually happen for him when he reaches that level as an AEW champion, for example, or a TNT or TBS champion, whatever the case might be. But for the Young Bucks right now, the scenario with it, if they win, okay, they can continue this rivalry. But I think it's going to happen here where they're actually going to switch the titles and put them on Kingston and Jon Moxley just for the fact that, whenever storylines are certainly written to the point where the opposing side has absolutely no shot, sometimes it surprises you. I think this is the particular moment, especially with a live crowd and a live audience that's probably not expecting that. That would be a good move to make. And also the mere fact that if you do that with Moxley and Eddie Kingston, it establishes them the point that it actually gives them something to do. It gives them some value to AEW. What I mean value is that, they chase.
You get the chase back from the Young Bucks to chase their titles back.
Exactly, too, and kind of establish it. Because the one thing that, what was always thought of when the Young Bucks were here and we saw these tag teams, that the tag team division was going to carry this company. Right now, it hasn't been the case right now because, we've had some injuries and things of that nature. A lot of factions in AEW right now, but not a lot of teams, per se, vying for those titles. Young Bucks are now the champions. I think they're going to help elevate Kingston and Moxley to the point where now, instead of looking at them as individual competitors, which we know Moxley's a former AEW champion. Kingston getting kind of lost. This kind of protects him and actually makes him more valuable to the fact that him and Moxley, they work well together. It's a good combination. They're the underdogs, so I think that's what's going to happen. The underdogs are going to prevail in this one. The crowd's going to go crazy for it because they are invested. They have a connection to Jon Moxley, and through that, Eddie Kingston as well. But though I don't need to hear Eddie Kingston talking about how they gave up on the people. Stop it, Eddie. You gave up on the people a long time ago, and you gave up on yourself.
On working out.
Exactly, with that pot belly of yours. But I think it's going to happen eventually. That's what's going to lead into be a big upset come Double or Nothing.
All right, so you've got Moxley and Kingston. I've got the Young Bucks retaining. Although you convinced me, Trendsetter, I kind of want to change my pick, but I'll stay with that pick.
Can't do it.
Follow us on all our social media once again at High Spot Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and also HSP Media Network on Instagram. We'll have our picks there, the rest of the picks there. You want to hear what we decide with Cody and Anthony Ogogo, and also, too, in the Miro and Lance Archer match. You definitely want to find out what our thoughts are on that one, who we pick. So definitely check us out. And we will be live on IG Live, Instagram Live, following Double or Nothing with our reactions. So you want to make sure immediately after the show, you sign on to at High Spot Podcast, and you definitely want to check out our Instagram Live. So definitely do that, guys. Definitely we want your support.
Yes.
We want your support, guys, and definitely do so. We're back, baby. HSP is back. Before we wrap it up, Trendsetter, the Casino Battle Royale, who's the mystery guy, or do you have somebody else winning that?
I gotta be honest with you, Jeff. I really haven't paid attention to this Casino Battle Royale because, you usually, for me, you had, Lance Hoyt, as I call him, because it's not Lance Archer anymore. You had maybe Miro, who might have been in that, but now he's the TNT champion, so they're going through their storyline right now. I can't see a particular guy that's going to be a surprise guy.
Christian Cage?
Christian Cage has been someone that people have been talking about. He wants that work, everybody. That might be a scenario. I think may be a little too soon, but Father Time might not be on Christian Cage's side. So I guess I would have to lean more towards him because there's not really anybody out there, compared to when we first did this, Jeff. It's amazing. It seems like ages ago last time you and I talked about AEW to this extent. It's always been in brief conversation through the millions of things that we're doing. And I just haven't seen that clear-cut person. Maybe Darby Allin, if he's part of the Casino Royale. Who knows? I just don't have that particular guy right now.
Well, Darby Allin's wrestling. He's teaming up with Sting.
I know, but I'm saying as an example, that would have been something I would say, hey, maybe now that he's not longer the champion, he'll vie for the opportunity. Hey, maybe he can be the world champion. But I don't know. I would probably say Christian would be the safe bet that everybody's talking about.
Who's the mystery man? They always have this mystery man kind of. We were let down.
Paul White's the mystery man.
You know what? Damn you.
Kurt Angle. No, he's not going to do anything.
Yeah. I was going to say Andrade, but you would kind of want to, maybe book him when the fans are there. There's fans going to be there. So
No, but I think what you have to do is if we're going to bring Andrade, real quick, I'll let you make your point, though. If we're going to bring Andrade, I would like to have him brought when the whole Kenny, Orange Cassidy, Pac thing is kind of resolved, because that type of match, in my opinion, with Andrade and the way he was kind of not really used well in WWE or never really used him or knew what to do with him, if you're going to have a scenario like that with Kenny, those two need to be on the platform by themselves. It can't be these triple threat matches, 4 matches and stuff like that.
Well, we were going to get Andrade and Kenny Omega, just not at
AEW.
Not at AEW. We're going to get them at Triple Mania in August.
Maybe that will be a small little, case to see what could possibly happen. If that goes well, which I think it should and it will, because they're both two talented performers, wow. Imagine what would happen if that's on AEW for the AEW title.
So I'm going to say Paul White, too. I'm going to say he's going to enter it himself, and I think we're going to get Paul White. So I wanted to say Andrade, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, Paul White's there. That would definitely make news, because he's been doing commentary. Yeah. He has hinted at the idea of returning back to the ring.
Well, he does plan on returning back to the ring. He just never said when he was going to.
So I could see it. I could see it at Double or Nothing. That could be one of the surprises. Listen, you're guaranteed surprises. You're guaranteed a good show. These matches are great. Again, go on our social media and find out the rest of our picks, and we'll see our opinion here. But Trendsetter, it's going to be a great show, and we're looking forward to watching it. Memorial Day. Hey, listen. Here in the Northeast, it's raining, so you have no excuse. Put it on, watch it, and also then you can go and follow us on Instagram Live and get our live reaction there, Trendsetter.
Yes, you definitely can get our live reaction there as we start again a new journey with you guys, members of the crew, which are so thankful to have you guys back here to be talking about AEW Double or Nothing, something that 2 short years ago Jeff and I were a part of, and now we're a part of it again. More of the virtual sense, but down the road, who knows, when things will open up, we'll be there in location, live in certain areas, whether it be All Out, Double or Nothing. The list goes on. SummerSlam. You never know. But ultimately, it should be an exciting card. It should be a fun time. And as much as it is in terms of we're talking about these matches, we're making predictions, Jeff, of what these storylines are going to be. The real winners are the people that are going to be there live watching this, because I think people have been literally clamoring and wanting so badly to see live wrestling up close and personal, and now there's their opportunity. So I think they'll make it, the fans, and more importantly, the town will try to make it a memorable one that they will not soon forget.
Yeah, man, if what you saw on Dynamite was just an inkling of what you're going to see at Double or Nothing, then we're going to be entertained. The fans are back, Trendsetter. We are back. Hopefully the weather comes back for the summertime here because, let me tell you something, this is Memorial Day. Boo. So anyways, guys, we appreciate you. I'm Jeff Martin alongside the Trendsetter. Trendsetter, do your thing, man. Let's wrap this thing up.
Guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the High Spot Podcast. We appreciate you. You have no idea. Glad to be back. And remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
We're back.
Still same friends, what you talking about? Got the new Cayenne, what you talking about?